Welcome to Franchise Killer, a podcast where we pick movie franchises or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong. Or right.
Oh, you're not going to go for the Will Smith?
No.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be wrong.
No?
I feel like Jason Bateman's more apt for us to attempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey
there.
Or right.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll go with it. I'm Reese. Across from me we have
David.
to his left,
Irina.
to my right.
Noah.
It's been a while for you,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Not that long. Just
been
one
a little
week.
bit.
Just 1 week.
No?
Yeah.
All right. It feels like a while.
Just one.
That's how much we missed you.
Yeah.
You didn't even attempt a character. I'm surprised.
I forgot what Jason Bateman's name was.
What a surprise.
Yeah, Reese, tell us, what's his name?
I don't know. I can tell you.
Yeah, there you go.
I got you.
Yeah, you're like,
No.
what a surprise.
His name is Ray, guys.
Ray.
I think you misinterpreted what I said. I said, what a surprise sarcastically, because he
okay.
was very generic.
Yeah. He was pretty forgettable.
This isn't one of those movies where they're constantly trying to tell you, or they give characters memorable names.
Except for Hancock. That's a pretty memorable
Yeah,
name.
except that.
Yeah.
And throwing a child 1,000 feet into the air because he called him an asshole, we have...
AJ.
That was a little extreme.
Slightly.
Hey,
Just
if
slightly.
MJ can get away with it, I can.
There you go.
Blanket?
And the movie we're talking about this morning, today, tonight, whenever you may be listening, is Hancock, a movie that came out in 2008. It's directed by Peter Berg, who also directed Very Bad Things, The Rundown, Friday Night Lights, The Kingdom, Battleship, Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, Mile 22, and most recently, Spencer Confidential.
You're right. Those are very bad things.
No, actually, I think this guy's track record is all over. Like, I cannot...
Yeah.
Like, one day he may direct a good movie, and the other day it'll be terrible.
And what's
The
this?
only one that screams really, really bad to me is Battleship. Like
Yeah,
the
Battleship-
rest are like acceptable as far as I know.
The thing is, Battleship, and I've seen it, it's exactly on the level of a Transformers movie.
I thought
Like,
Pacific Rim when I saw the trailer.
Yeah, it's just, you watch it and it's like, that's something that shouldn't have been a movie. But what you can say about it is that the action is competently directed. One thing this guy knows how to do is action.
Hey, that's something we're probably going to talk about in this movie.
Cool.
Yeah, but I don't hate Peter Berg, actually. When I'm looking at this, I liked Lone Survivor, I liked Deepwater Horizon, and I kind of liked Patriots Day as well. Some people out there really like Friday Night Lights. I think
Oh, that was a good movie.
Yeah, I think his movie actually inspired, like, that's the reason the TV show exists. It's not the same cast, but I think that's what kind of garnered interest in that subject.
High school football.
Yeah.
I will say also, Peter Berg, the last name Berg sounds like somebody just chopped off half of his last name. Doesn't it?
Burger?
No, or like Hamburg or Dinkelberg or... I don't know, Pittsburgh. You know,
What
it
is
just sounds
this?
like I don't hear Berg on its own. This is a
Berg.
stand-up bit. This is a
Yeah.
Seinfeld bit.
No,
I
you're
don't-
right. You're right.
I'm
what's
fine
to
with it.
do with Peter Berg?
Just yeah. Yeah.
Why
it does
don't you
it
choose
does
a
sound
name?
Like, it does sound like that is his whole last name.
Right?
Peter Berg is his last name.
Sorry, I didn't anticipate my laugh. I didn't back up enough.
And the movie stars Will Smith. Is this our first Will Smith, except barring the Lost episode?
I thought you were hinting at that.
No, I
The
mean, we
Lost
had a
episode.
Lost episode where we covered Wild Wild West that sadly is just gone forever. But have we covered any other Will Smith other than that?
We almost covered Independence Day during our disaster series, and we didn't do it.
Almost
So-
don't count, do they?
We also almost did MIB at one point too.
Yeah, we did, and we've been avoiding Will Smith movies, and we thought the best one to do was Wild Wild West, and the next best one to do
Hancock.
So we're picking all of his best movies.
I'm gonna have to check just to make sure. There's almost some part
I'm
of me that
fairly
thinks
confident.
we did talk about a Will Smith, but I'm not sure. Also stars Charlize Theron, Jason Bateman, and Eddie Marsan. For such a big movie, actually not much of a cast to this one. You've only got 3 big names, and then that one guy you recognize in most British movies, specifically the Cornetto trilogy, Eddie Marsan, who's doing a kind of sometimes successful
I wanted to talk
accent.
about that accent.
Yeah, it's
I'm
questionable at times.
I'm trying
call
to
it
place
questionable.
it.
Yeah, it's one of the few times I normally think British actors do mostly are always able to pull off the American accent, and they do a really good job of it. But his was one where I'm like, oh, not quite there. Because I think he had to first learn the basic American accent and then learn like the, I don't know.
He went for like a
Yeah.
Kentucky-ish accent that kind of swayed into French.
Like I don't know
that's
how
I heard
I don't
it.
know how you learn accents, but I'm wondering if you have to learn like the base, like here's what a basic American versus or British accent is, and then you have to build off of that, or if you directly go to here's the Kentucky accent.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I know a lot of productions have accent coaches, but I don't know if they had one for this one or how much time they actually spent on it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. And the movie is written by Vincent Nigo and Vince Gilligan. Does that name ring a bell for y'all?
It does.
Vince
I can't
Gilligan?
remember what that is, though.
Yeah.
3-hour tour?
No, he did. No, not of Gilligan's Island fame.
Oh,
Vince Gilligan it was the showrunner for shows such as Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Oh, that's where. Yep.
Which this was the most surprising credit for me to find in my research for this movie, is that it was written by Vince Gilligan. So we have finally finished the Deathloop miniseries. It was a long 8-episode miniseries. We're finally on to the next one. And we're kicking it off with an easy one here with Hancock, but and we've got a few working titles for what we're calling this miniseries. Could be,
we have the final one. I like the one you called it.
since it's yours, we'll go with that. So this is the superheroes status. It's complicated miniseries where we are talking about superheroes that are they got some problems. They're kind of this is real life, right? I think at least most of the ones in our your selections are
before. This is like before the boys kind of thing.
It's a almost what if superheroes existed in the real world kind of not exactly the real world, but they're more believable in some senses. All right, for those that are new to this show, on this podcast, we first go over our thoughts on the film before revisiting it for the episode. Then we dive into the story, break it down bit by bit, and talk about the more significant moments. Then towards the end of the show, we give our brief reviews and numbered scores, along with an analysis on the health of the franchise and whether or not this film hurt it. So, David, this being your mini-series, had you seen Hancock before this episode?
You bet your Hancock I did. I watched this growing up quite a few times.
Mm-hmm. Is that your only story?
Wait, what-
I
what's
mean,
a-
I saw
what's
it
a
in theaters.
Hancock?
I mean, it's like Hand to Your Heart, but
Oh.
all right. Anyway, I have seen this. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I have it in my my DVD collection from like 2008.
and we've never
I
watched
can see it right here.
Y'all, by the way, y'all's DVD collection makes zero sense to me.
Yeah,
Just
y'all
like,
do have a little.
y'all have
little
like
weird
like
assortment.
the Two Towers, but not the other two Lord of the Rings movies.
Wait, no,
So-
we do too.
No, you don't.
Our DVD collection is mostly donations.
And I feel like in your family, y'all have like 3 copies of Dan in Real Life.
I
Like,
don't
y'all,
know why, but
y'all
you're
love
correct.
that movie.
Well, I have a couple copies of Good Will Hunting now because I bought one, and I think your mom bought me the movie twice. I don't know why.
I mean, that makes sense.
So I have like weird random copies of movies in this collection. So
Yeah.
that aside, I grew up with it. I watched it multiple times. I'll let you do the math on what you think I think of this movie.
Noah, how about you?
I know that I saw it. I just can't remember how I saw it.
Same.
Me
too.
At some point,
So probably not theatrically.
We probably all watched it together, but that's all I can.
That's better than
That's all
not
I got.
remembering if you
Yeah.
had seen it or not,
Yeah.
I guess.
No,
You do
I
remember
know,
seeing it.
I remember seeing it, and I remember the whole story. Or previous to watching it, I remembered the whole story.
Cool. AJ, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw bits and pieces on TV. I don't really remember like it prominently, other than like the prison sequences, which I guess is kind of the main point of it. But I can't, believe we're not doing Sean Connery impersonations right now already. I mean, how many? And Nick Cage, like
What?
You saw The Rock.
Oh, I was like, I don't know. Wait,
Alcatraz.
what?
AJ, I'm so sorry, but the movie we're actually watching this week is Hancock, not The Rock.
Oh,
Please tell me you just thought about that last second.
No, I mean, it rhymes.
No, I would love to know if he was like, oh yeah, The Rock.
Had
Anyway.
you seen Hancock?
Hancock, no. I remember it being marketed, but I never saw it until now.
Ooh, so we have a new one. I always love it when good or bad movie or middle of the road movie. I always love it when some of us haven't seen it.
I will say, I think this movie benefits from watching it younger and then growing up with it.
Most movies that aren't very good.
It's a product of its time, and it doesn't make it bad.
I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm just saying
it's a
For
product
better
of
or
its
for
time.
worse. For some reason, I conflate Hancock and I Am Legend because like the color of the marketing and posters are the same, and I never
I
saw
see.
either one.
Wait, have you
I
still
think-
not seen I Am Legend?
I do like
Correct.
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I think this was also during like a Will Smith renaissance of sorts.
Yeah.
Too.
Mini
So-
Renaissance. He was
Mi-
still
yeah.
big because
he's always been big, but like
because like a few years ago he still had big hits like
Yeah.
iRobot.
yeah, that's
and,
what
like-
I'm saying. There's
Yeah.
iRobot, there's I Am Legend, there's Hancock.
Well,
there's-
iRobot was 2003. This was like 2010 or what?
Eight.
I Am Legend was
2008,
07. This is 08, so
Yeah.
I'm not that far off.
Yeah, true. Noah, I mean Arena. How about you?
Yeah, I know I've seen this before. I definitely remember marketing for it and the trailers, and everyone thought it looked like it was going to be good. Didn't end up seeing it in theaters, though. I guess because mostly at that time I was swayed by what the family wanted to go see, and I don't think this movie was really on any of our radars. So I saw it after it was released at some point. I think there's actually, I had a lot of confusion because anytime the name Hancock pops up, I immediately think of Hitch as well.
Yeah.
And so I
funny.
think of Hitchcock. And so those three names just kind of circle in my brain until it settles and figures out what movie I'm actually talking about.
They should pull a Unbreakable split glass and have the third movie be called Hitchcock, where both characters meet, and then it's like a psychological horror movie.
Yeah.
Boy,
so-
that'll give you vertigo right there.
Not if you look out the rear window.
Birds.
Birds. You could see them out the window. That's true.
I didn't. I thought I was going to get groans from that one. Not
No,
laughter. That was
Well,
good.
I'm dialing M already, so
You psycho.
North by Northwest.
Leave it.
Wow, that stopped me in my
not
tracks.
even trying to weave it in. Just
Yeah. I saw this in theaters. This was a big year for me because it was my first year driving. So I loved. Previously, it was like a treat to be able to be taken to the movies. So this was the first year where in the summer I'd be like, all right, I'm seeing the new movie every week. So Hancock came out, and I was like, I'm gonna go watch Hancock in the movie theater, and I saw it in the movie theater. So
Yeah.
I'm
and then that kept up for years.
yes, it did, but.
now you just watch movies while you're driving.
Exactly. But it was a movie. I will not say it was definitely not one of those like bottom of the barrel, I don't know, terrible experiences. So that was my thought process at the time. With that said, David, can you give us that quick call to action?
Hey everybody, welcome to Franchise Killer Podcast. We are covering Hancock this week, and if you enjoyed this movie like I do, woo woo, raise your hands, and then take that hand, put it on your mouse, click over to Apple Podcasts, find us on there, and give us a 5-star review because you know that gives us the algorithm hijack and
Hijack?
words. Anyway, you
you
go
put the rhythm in our algorithm. Okay.
go on Apple Podcasts, give us that 5-star review, because if you do, beep boop, we go to the front of the line, and we are now the podcast everyone else is going to find. And that's what we want. We're here to bring joy to everyone's lives, and we do this at a deficit to ourselves. We do not make money from this. We enjoy it. We do it because we love movies, and we think you should too. Vote for me for Congress. All right. Otherwise,
What a pitch.
yeah. Or go on Instagram. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're all over the place. Type us in. Ask Alexa. Tell a friend. Thanks.
And again, we're back over to you, David.
Yeah.
David, you want to give us that story?
Hancock's latest act of so-called heroics took a hefty financial toll.
You save people's lives every single day. People should love you.
I look like I care what people think.
Pulled some stuff up on YouTube. Everybody remembers Walter, the gray whale. He was stuck on the beach. Along comes Hancock.
I don't even remember that.
Greenpeace does.
John Hancock is an alcoholic, reckless superhuman imbued with flight, invulnerability, and super strength. Acting as a haphazard superhero in Los Angeles, he is often ridiculed and hated by the public for his drunken and careless acts, and becomes enraged when called an asshole. Hancock rescues Ray Embry, a public relations specialist, from an oncoming train, which he irrationally derails to save Ray. Thankfully, seeing him as a career opportunity, Ray offers to help improve Hancock's public image. Hancock meets Ray's family, his son Aaron, who is a fan, and his wife Mary, who is suspicious of Hancock. Ray encourages Hancock to issue a public apology and then go to prison for a time until Los Angeles needs him properly. Hancock reluctantly agrees, struggling to fit in at a prison, and quickly causes trouble when he assaults two fellow inmates that resent the fact that they put him in prison. Hancock is visited by Ray, encouraging him to be patient, but when he hears he might be in for an 8-year stint, he starts to break out. Ray persuades him to stay and stick to the plan. Hancock is later visited by Mary and Aaron, who bring him homemade spaghetti. Oh, with meatballs. Spaghetti madness. The Los Angeles crime rates rise, and Hancock is eventually released to help. He foils a bank robbery orchestrated by Red Parker, with Hancock slicing off his hand to prevent him from activating a dead man switch. He is praised as a hero and becomes popular.
So the movie opens with a crazy car chase. Other movies that came to mind when I saw this car chase were where a movie opens on this big action sequence was Deadpool, weirdly.
Yeah.
And
This has Deadpool vibes.
And The Other Guys. That's another movie that opens on this just really goofy, insane car chase. I think this movie opens really strong, and then it's a consistent, slow descent. But, David, you being the one that grew up on this, what are your thoughts on the opening to this movie, this big knockdown, drag-out action sequence with speckles of comedy here and there, a sense that Hancock has this really rough and tumble superhero?
All right, say what you will about the rest of the movie and some of the weird beats that goes down that doesn't quite follow the rest of the movie. I think this is a very solid opening sequence. I think that it matches what you see, like you brought up Deadpool. I think that it's very on par with a lot of more R to PG-13 rated superhero movies that we're starting to see more of that we didn't see back then. And I was on board. I love seeing Will Smith and getting to see him do some brash superheroing. I was on board.
Yeah.
So
everybody else, and AJ, I'm kind of,
wow, don't be delicate about it.
No, that's not actually, that wasn't the implication there that, oh, everyone else hates this. But AJ, being a newcomer to this movie, what do you think of the opening? I guess that, just like the opening salvo, I guess, and Will Smith here.
I mean, I got it. It's the Will Smith brand at the time, and some of the drunken flying reminded me of like the early Harry Potter Quidditch flying.
Oh,
just
yeah.
like kind of knocking like around everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, this opening premise, I mean, the whole tone of the movie, actually, it's funny that Irina mentioned Hitch, because this movie feels like a reciprocal Hitch.
Yeah.
To me, where it's just like, instead of Will Smith being the mentor, he's the mentee, and I don't know.
I think Will Smith totally carries this movie, and if it didn't have him, it would truly be
it'd be Arrested Development.
It would be completely unsalvageable, in my opinion. And I really like Jason Bateman in this as well. But what I like about Will Smith is he's such a huge star, yet he's willing to not look like a hero in the beginning. He's willing to kind of look flawed, and I don't know, he tries to cop a feel of that girl, and he's drunk, and he's just, I don't know, it's just a an image that some movie stars are afraid to have. Let's say like a Vin Diesel or a Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You're never going to see them in a role like this because they're so concerned about their public image. And Will Smith finds a way to still be, I don't know, a fun presence to watch despite, or maybe because of how flawed he is as a character at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of love seeing him, like, 'cause it's kind of a new perspective, even though there have been heroes that aren't perfect before. It's fun seeing it's almost sitcom-y in a way, but with these action sequences fused within.
Yeah.
But Irina, Noah, how about y'all?
No, I agree. I do think that this is kind of there is a sitcom nature to it where, it's a little bit of a slice of life of what it is to be a superhero in the modern world, or at least one such as Hancock. So I think it's a really interesting take in the first 15 minutes or so, where you're learning about his character and those surrounding him and what he's about.
I'm on board with the beginning. I think the only thing that has made me uncomfortable so far is the camera style. And it's mostly just sort of, I think that was a trend of the time, is that handheld kind of zoom in close
like
on
the
people's
Bourne
faces.
Identity type.
Oh, it bugs the crap out of me
Yeah.
because I can't actually look at the character fully because it's like it's a close up of their face and it's moving around and
I hate using this word, but it's almost pretentious in a sense where it's like, we know other superhero movies. This is the real world where, things get jostled around and we're trying to...
yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's a film style that I've seen it work for things before, but it doesn't always work for me. In this case, it kind of made it uncomfortable. Like I could see it making me a little sick to my stomach, just making me dizzy with all the motion. But
when you actually pay attention to it, it's really annoying. Like I didn't really notice it.
Yep.
But we have it in the background, and now you just see the camera constantly just like jostling around.
I'm actually mad at her because we were watching it, and I have watched this movie so many times, and I never noticed it, and I was fine with the movie, and then she called it out. I'm like,
it's all right though. There were points where I just got used to it, but I think it actually happened later when they start zooming out and it's more focusing on action instead.
Will Smith, he's causing a lot of property damage. It surprises me that the government or people don't try harder to contain him, but I guess since he's
How would they?
I know, but you'd think there'd be something, maybe.
There might have been 80
But
years ago.
It's just funny that he can like take a nap on a park bench and no one does anything. But yeah, it causes a lot of property damage. Enter Jason Bateman's character. He's stuck in traffic. And there's a stoplight and he gets caught on the railroad tracks, train's coming, and at the last minute, Hancock jumps in, saves him, but in the worst possible way. He flips his car onto another car and then stops the train when he could have just maybe flown the car up. And they point that out, and it's funny. Like, this is so weird about this movie because it's actually really well written in the first 30, 45 minutes, and there's
I know the line cut off.
Yeah, there's genuinely great moments, and this is another one of them. Like, I actually love Jason Bateman in this, and they have such a funny, like, natural chemistry in a weird way, where he would normally... I love the crowd building moment where they're all just, like, shouting at Hancock, and he's like, bring it on, yep, I get it, la-da-da-da-da, and then Jason Bateman's like, no, you guys, he saved me. Like
it's straight up
Hancock.
It's straight up his character from Arrested Development, and
yeah. But would you?
I mean, Jason Bateman is excellent. Like, I mean, especially he's got the dramatic chops, like Ozarks and all that stuff. It's like they pulled, we just want comedy be your character in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of like in the case of this movie,
the chemistry works. I just
In the case of this movie, I don't know if I would have gone for anything much different because it is kind of a... Yeah, you're right. I mean, he could have done a different spin on it.
It could have been tuned a bit.
Yeah, a mix of both, maybe.
Does anyone else, just like when they first saw Jason Bateman, go, what are you doing here? Like,
my first impression of him was, is he going to be evil for some reason? Because what he was doing was just too nice. I guess. In
Yeah.
the beginning, he's in that boardroom where he's just like, yeah, donate to this cause. And there's something about his delivery that makes me think he has an ulterior motive, but he didn't. He's actually the good guy in this.
Yeah.
But
Straight up as innocent as can be.
yeah.
So Jason Bateman happens to be someone working in PR. He's got his what's it, All Hearts or some.
It's All Heart, yeah.
All Heart, yeah. And he's married to bombshell Charlize Theron.
Mary.
I mean, you can say whatever you want to say. I would
Well,
say Theron, you say Theron.
Her character's name is Mary in this,
Yeah,
so we
Mary.
can say
Something
that.
about Mary.
Thank you, Mary and Ray. Gosh, that's so generic. Like they just picked, like they just opened a book of names and like closed their eyes and pointed down at a
Last
name. And they're
name
like, that's what we're gonna do.
Smith.
But yeah,
roasting
Mary
Will Smith
and
here?
they've got a kid.
Yes, I did.
They've got a kid. He's kind of cute. I like the way he says, "This is my favorite dinosaur or whatever."
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Here, Hancock, you can have
Yeah,
it.
you
He's
got
my
it.
You can
favorite.
have it. He's my favorite. But once Hancock decides to take him up on this deal that he says like, hey, I can kind of maybe help you with your image problem you've got here. So he shows up at his place, does his old like really sloppy superhero landing, tosses the bully thousands of feet into the air, just like AJ did at the top of the episode. Which what'd y'all think of this kind of like you don't normally see scenes of like suburban life with a superhero
How did they
plopped into the
know
scene.
that making the kid French would be
Yes.
all that more annoying?
I truly think there was a thing with like between the early 2000s and 2010. There was something where they're like French people hate Americans. It was like a back and forth thing. I swear.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't. Well, yeah, they
Freedom
don't like us.
fries.
Freedom fries, baby.
It was satisfying just because, and I think only his character could do that because he's just irreverent enough to do it, but still endearing where you're kind of still on his side.
Yeah.
So
I still feel like it wasn't enough.
That scene where he catches them and Jason Bateman's just like kind of
Not okay. Like,
the way he runs off.
I love the little reprimands
just good.
that Jason Bateman gives to Will Smith's character. He's
Yeah.
like, did you do that? And he's like, yeah, he goes, you
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah, not okay.
Not okay. Greenpeace remembers that.
Oh, the whale scene where he's like, or he shows him the video of him. I don't remember that. I don't even remember that. Like it's all Will Smith just having good delivery
Yeah.
of
And
this.
Jason
that-
Bateman
and-
being likable.
But that's the important thing to note about this movie is that it's really entertaining, but it does entirely rest on Will Smith's shoulders.
Well, I mean, literally some points. But
Yeah.
I do think that there are other glimmers of good things here. I think the writing was good. I think the music's okay. And the writing was good up until a point.
Up to a point.
Up to a point.
so-
We know what the point
Yeah,
is.
so here's what I think. They didn't really go this way. But Jason Bateman, when he's in the prison, says that like the DA is going to call for you once crime starts ramping up, et cetera, et cetera. They should have focused a little more on setting up a chaotic city with that in mind, because you don't see that at all.
They allude
Yeah.
to the city like going to crap after Hancock gets
They kept
locked
showing
up.
news things.
Yeah,
talking about it.
that's like a
But-
bad way to set it up.
I want this to feel like a bigger world, you know. It
Yeah.
still seems a little bit too microscopic and focused on.
Yeah, like
I mean,
it needed to be like a Gotham or something, or like Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
LA's not good enough.
Like instead of him like stopping a little car chase or blocking a train from hitting a car,
Yeah.
he should have been dealing with like cartel or something like that.
All right, I'm just gonna say up until this point, there's a point we all know what the exact moment is in this movie that turns. Up until that moment, I actually think this is a really solid movie.
I
for
think
me.
it's fun.
And
I really enjoy this movie.
I'd agree. Look, the thing is, it's not taking into consideration where it goes. I am the first act complete success out of the 3 acts. Like, okay, you've got me. Like I'm not saying it's perfect.
Yeah.
but it's like this. This is the solid groundwork for a great movie, and and we'll get to it. But the problems start to show with Charlize Theron. You can tell that there's they recognize each other or there's some sort of history there. It's pretty
The
obvious.
sexual tension is like so thick you can cut it with a knife. And it's
Yeah.
like, please don't introduce this.
Yes.
This story does not need this.
the
complication.
moment that starts happening, that is when we start to run into problems. Thankfully, it doesn't happen until, or it's not fully brought to light until after, or at least during, or is it? It's not even at the prison.
So okay,
prison stuff.
I will say they introduce it almost immediately if you watch. The second their characters meet,
No, they
Charlize
recognize each
Theron-
other.
Well, no, he doesn't recognize her.
she recognizes
Yes.
him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there's still that attraction, and it's evident. But neither of them act on it until that plot twist, basically.
Yeah, and you know what? Charlize Theron, she's a great actress, and she does the best with what she's got. Unfortunately, what she's got is the worst character arc in the movie.
Yeah.
But
her superpower is décolletage.
Yeah.
But so at this point, we've got Jason Bateman saying like, "Hey, if you could really help your image if you turn yourself into prison and serve some time." And he's like, I assure you, they're saying you're going to be in there for 8 years. I assure you, though, crime's going to be on the way up. They're going to want you out of there, and they're going to realize that they need you, and that's going to do all sorts of kind of favors for your image and just help you show that you're willing to do your time. Good concept. I like this.
Yes.
Like rehabilitating the superhero. You know they're going to need him and recognize like what they don't have now. I like where this is going.
Imagine how good a show it would make. You have like 10 episodes of building
7
character, building the
movies.
city. No, like
I actually, I normally like when you suggest shows. I think in this case they could have just had a really solid movie.
Actually,
Like,
another suggestion. Irina and I talked about this. This is easily a 2 movie. There's 2 movies here.
If you go with
But you-
with the terrible second half and you actually want to explore that,
and
yes.
the problem with trying to do any more than one movie is that this isn't like the kind of content that people are gonna stick around for an extra movie for.
I would say, I mean, there's potential there if you explore, there's these other average, supernatural or endowed individuals with powers. But then they're like, oh, no, they're angels or something like that. And
Yep,
I don't know.
that's
They
why.
kinda nipped that story in the bud.
Yep.
Well,
That's why
there's
I
something there
suggest the
though.
show route.
It could go. I agree. I think it could either be a show, but there is an ability to do 2 movies. They focus on the good half of this one, see it all the way through, hint at other stuff from the second half, and then make a second movie out of that. And we'll get there.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
Why does this movie have to have a villain? Doesn't. Why can't it just be a character study / drama of a superhero who's different than everyone else, being rehabilitated and finally becoming good at the end? He doesn't have to have all these other characters with powers. It can just be him finally having this revelation that I need to be good. Like
The villain is addiction.
yes. Well, I'm not even kidding. It is. Like it basically is. This is like
he is his own villain.
yeah. Why can't it be that?
Well,
why do we have to?
So the original script of this, and I don't know how much you guys looked into it, he was the bad guy. He was the villain. Hancock was not a good guy in the original script. He was supposed to be the villain who like steals the main character who is Ray. He steals his wife and like kills a bunch of cops and then steals her away.
Wasn't the original title some
Is that not what happened?
innuendo?
I mean, not in the same way. In this movie, he does it because they apparently loved each other for. We'll get there. Anyway, the point is, he was actually like a really big villain in the first one, and I think that nobody wanted to touch the script because of that. Then they kind of rewrote it where they're like, okay, let's make him amiable, and he's trying to be better, and that's kind of how we got this, which is why he is such a d***hole. Is that a word? Can I say that?
He's a Hancock.
He's a Hancock.
That's much better.
Yeah, he gets his rebranding. They do end up needing him out of prison. I like this moment where they're playing basketball. The basketball gets tossed out. He jumps out to get it. Has this moment of like, I could just leave here. It was a nice little, I don't know.
Shows that he could leave if he wanted to.
Yeah, he's deciding to stay in. He's showing some actual growth here. But yeah, this is one of the first really awkward, abrupt cuts. So they don't even show him really getting out or suiting up or anything. It's just suddenly, cue like off-brand Superman theme. Here he is with this really generic looking leather suit with an eagle on the back, because I guess he likes eagles, because that was on his beanie. But I mean,
Yeah.
I still like the good job stuff. That's funny.
Oh yeah, good job.
I actually don't mind this bank sequence. I just think the lead up to it could have been better.
Agreed.
I think it's fine, but also the going back to a comment you made, where why does Hancock have to have a nemesis or a central villain? This is, if you're going to give him a villain, kind of a poor example of one to throw out there. Is not threatening at all, not even really a force to be reckoned with for me.
I think this is the worst villain of any superhero movie ever.
I actually, after this bank sequence, I completely forgot about him. Even
Real question: who was the villain again?
The guy who lost his hand and who leads, he's like the leader of the bank robbers.
the one with the weird accent.
Oh yeah. Okay.
See, you just watched the movie.
I
and you don't even
legitimately
remember.
forgot.
See,
Yeah.
like I think genuinely the worst villain of, like, you name
It's
any
like-
terrible superhero movie, this super villain is worse than
It's
any of
even
them.
fine that he's in this, like, for a moment.
Yeah.
But the fact they will try to bring him back later.
Yeah.
To
No, that's
exact
what makes it
revenge.
bad. He's
And I'm like, why would he?
yeah,
Why
he's
would
perfectly
he?
fine as just a bank robber dude that he stops.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, end that
End
there.
there.
That's fine.
Like he's below like an Arrowverse villain.
Yeah, yeah.
Truly, he's below like a episode villain, like for one episode.
He's a bank robber. He's like one of the side guys in the opening of The Dark Knight. Like he's one of the clowns that gets shot. Like
he's
that's the
that
kind of
guy
he
you
is.
stop at the big. Like he's like a side mission for Spider-Man. Like it's like, hey,
Actually,
they're robbing the
yes.
bank, and then Spider-man stops them and it's like, all right, taken
Yeah.
care of.
Yeah.
Like that's what this guy is.
True. But you're right.
But yeah, he saves the lady. She's like, do I have your consent to touch your body? Blah blah blah.
What good wording.
I did like that though, the whole consent thing. Like, you are good looking. She's like, take me.
Come on.
Pick me up.
I liked that stuff. But this is after this is when we start to see some.
Well, that's where let's just talk a little bit more about the fact that he has a really good. This is where they showcase all of the things he's learned.
Yeah.
I personally think that it's a good setup for me, and I like the way they showcase his character actually learning and not just trying to destroy everything. You know, he lands well, he compliments the cops, he takes off the guy's hand, nobody dies, and the building is intact. So that's a complete different vibe from the rest of the movie, and his suit is absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
It's like reminiscent of X2.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
X2.
It is X2.
Yeah, it's like an X2 villain. It's like this movie is scared to like let its superhero flag fly, where it's just like, let's give it a look that we're kind of embarrassed of superheroes in comic books, so let's try to like modernize it and
leather.
like it. Yeah, it's not great.
So we'll talk about this more as we go, but I'm going to propose something I read that I thought was kind of neat. People are trying to guess who is Hancock, like if there is a mythology sort of connection, or like if he is somebody in something we've seen before. Apparently Zeus, there's a lot of connections with him in this, and the eagle is supposed to be reminiscent of that. A lot of people call to. There's some other things with his character in regards to Mary's character and how we'll go into their relationship later. But something to think about moving forward. It makes it a little bit more fun.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to just close out the rest of the story?
I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hancock has dinner with Ray and Mary and reveals that he is amnesic and an immortal, having woken up in a hospital 80 years ago with no memory of his identity. He had awakened in a hospital with doctors telling him that he was stopping a mugging and he was clubbed in the head. Ray tells Hancock that Mary is Aaron's stepmother and that his biological mother had died in childbirth. Carrying a drunk Ray home, Hancock kisses Mary, who kisses him back, but then throws him through a wall, revealing that she has superpowers too. The next day, Hancock and Mary speak in private. Mary claims in the past that there were more like them, often called angels or gods by other people, but no longer. They have lived for 3,000 years and are soulmates. The other angels/gods paired up, lived human lives, and then died. Hancock flies away to inform Ray of Mary's kissing him, only for Mary to chase him and incite a violent battle across the city. Ray witnesses the fight, later confronting them. Mary admits that Hancock is actually her husband from the past, but that she chose to quietly leave him once he had lost his memory.
She quit him? Is that what
Ooh,
she was
It's rough. There's no good way to phrase that. After stopping a store robbery, Hancock finds that a bullet has hurt him and he needs hospital treatment. Mary tells him that the closer they are, the more mortal they become. They will lose their powers unless they stay apart. The last time Hancock and Mary were together was 80 years ago when Hancock was attacked. Parker, who escaped prison with several other criminals, attacked the hospital to get revenge. Mary is caught in the crossfire and injured. Hancock recovers, killing the criminals, but is further injured when Parker shoots him. He is saved by Ray, who cuts off Parker's other hand with a fire axe before killing him. Hancock throws himself out of the hospital, trying to increase his distance from Mary so that she can recover, before flying off towards the moon. A month later, Ray and his family receive a call from Hancock, revealing that he has imprinted the moon's surface with Ray's all-heart marketing logo. In a mid-credits scene, Hancock confronts a criminal holding a woman at gunpoint and demands that he help him escape from the police while calling him an asshole in the process, much to Hancock's amusement. Ha ha ha.
Amusement's not quite the right word.
Yeah. All right. Can I say that we open up the second half to just free for all? Like,
I'm just gonna say,
Sure.
I know that this is gonna be a lot of people saying a lot of bad things. I'm gonna do my best to say everything positive that I can.
Start us off with something positive, David.
I still all right. No.
He wasn't ready
I
to
don't
start.
mean I am. I was gonna save this for later, and I truly do actually like the second story that's in this. I know everyone else is gonna disagree with me. I think the story of him having amnesia, being, left by Mary earlier, the concept of all that, and the fact that they are angels, gods throughout time that are paired. I love the concept of that. I think that is a very cool story that came out of left field, out of literally nowhere.
I think it's an interesting idea in a different movie.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I guess that's what I was getting at, was that they literally shoehorned that in, and it was a completely different movie before this.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I grew up with this movie, so I knew the beats, and I had to adjust as a kid.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier for me. So watching it, I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense enough. But rewatching it, it's like, what happened? But I still really like it. I still think I can separate myself from both halves of the movie and enjoy them. It's just not for everybody.
It would have been, and I'm glad you brought some positivity to this, but I think if you were going to introduce this angle, it would have been the perfect, like, post-credits, like, Nick Fury type thing.
Yes.
Like, by the way,
Yeah.
there are more like you, or something like that. Like,
Oh yeah, like post credits scene type thing. Yeah,
Like, have it be this solo self-discovery thing, like, or rehabilitation of a hero.
It could be Jason Bateman, like, watching a video on his phone, and there's, like, another
something
guy
else.
like him.
Yeah.
Well, they all died off. That was the thing.
But
I didn't remember that.
I can't think of a movie that more quickly falls off a cliff in the second half than this movie.
And that's funny. It must not have got its flight powers back.
Yeah.
It literally it doesn't feel like the same movie.
Yeah, it is so... And this movie did have, like, rewrite issues, and it had a lot of, like, script troubles, so I get that. And there were a number of different drafts and cuts of this movie that had to be re-edited and changed. This is one of those ones that was just, like, I don't know, morphed into an awkward distributable version. It was originally going to be a lot darker, I read, and you did allude to that with him being a villain, which I would have maybe liked that. Like,
in one regard.
We'll
maybe.
have him be a villain and change,
Yeah,
Or,
that would be
like,
cool, actually.
But I'm just going to read the room here, and this will be kind of fun. Everyone, round table, I'll go one by one. What was the moment for this, other than David?
I know what the scene is.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that y'all were kind of disappointed in the second half. Irina, Noah, AJ, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so where was the moment for each of y'all that it was like, uh-oh? Like, you had the alarm. I'll start with AJ this time.
Honestly, it was when Mary
Yep.
first started giving like dark eyes towards Hancock, like she recognized him. I was like, please don't do this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I already know this is going in a wrong direction.
It's just so much
Because,
of a coincidence.
I mean, Jason Bateman's character, Ray, is it? Ray?
Ray,
Ray,
yeah.
yeah. Could be
I mean,
Roy.
he's
who cares?
like,
Ray, Roy, whatever.
I mean, one-dimensional, like super nice, naive. Okay, great. This is the guy that's supposed to be, embodying hope and, the good spirit in the world and stuff. And that's what a hero needs to learn. But he's just so, that.
Mhm.
And then you have Mary way over here, who's this like an actual person and supports Ray and loves him and is a mom, but also like just doesn't trust Hancock, excuse me. But then now there's this flirtatious sexual tension from nowhere because they have backstory, because reasons.
Yep.
Like it's just the story. It doesn't match your characters,
Mhm.
and it doesn't match. Why can't they be near each other if they're married and they're these superpowers? Why do they lose their powers by being close to each other? That makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes zero
No.
sense. I hate it.
Like I
they're-
literally said, why?
Yeah,
when
they're
they said that, why?
They explained
just-
it.
No, they're destined for each other, but when they're together, they become less powerful. Like
Yes, they say it's so they can live normal lives and die like
then
normal
why were they
humans.
born
David, you're
special
saying
in the
that
first
like
place?
it makes sense. That makes no sense.
It's honestly the like young adult novel treatment where there's like
is.
random rules only to
Yeah.
create romantic tension, and it has absolutely no solid grounding anywhere for any reason.
And I said it as like a side, kind of a snarkiness, but like literally Mary's power is décolletage. Like she wears the exact same like super low cut outfit. It's
Yeah.
just, now it's leather. Now she has dark, smoky eyes and black tips on
Yeah.
her hair. Now she's
Yeah.
The thing,
okay, who is this person? Like this
Yeah.
character changes from every scene that we see her in, and it's just not consistent. And you can't rely on any of these characters, honestly, because Ray is like good and whatever, but he's not realistic because he apparently rubs shoulders in the huge corporate world and just tries to tell everybody to give away things for free.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What is that teaching me about superheroes? In the end, he just stamps a heart on the moon. Like, okay.
I thought okay. First of all, the whole like I can accept outrageous oh yeah, when we're close we lose our powers, even though it doesn't make sense. It's like whatever, it's some weird spiritual rule or something. I don't know. But then like when apparently they like insta heal after going a certain distance away from each other.
yeah.
So
it's-
wouldn't the meta be like, oh, you're hurt? I'm gonna fly away. I'm gonna run away real quick.
So that
Also,
you
you-
can
And then
get
you're
healed
good
up
again.
Yeah.
You'd
So
think-
now we can come back.
Also, you'd think she
Like-
wouldn't be living in the same city as him if
Yeah.
she knew all. Like Hancock's a public figure where they are, and
Yeah.
here they are, just not too long.
Maybe she just
But-
thought like, what are the chances
And also-
we run into
But
each other?
wait, before we do this, I did want to get y'all's takes on when the movie it turned for you.
Well,
So
yeah.
go ahead, Noah. Give me your moment, and we can get back to what you were saying.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's I don't know. For me, it was pretty obvious. AJ has a point. It is that weird tension already, and that was already like I don't really like that. But then it was just when she like
Go ahead and
grossly
say it, man.
overreacts and like
Yep,
slams
there
him out
you
the
go.
building.
That's the
Like,
moment.
Yep,
Excuse me?
yep. Arena.
Well, also him leaning in for the kiss, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
After all this, okay, now you're just gonna do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
it's a complete flipping of certain characters, just the way they were written to begin with,
Yeah.
and kind of completely turning it on its head. So my impression of her character throughout this is that even though there's romantic tension, she has a strong care and fondness for this guy, Ray. So, like, she's
Yeah.
never going to act on it, or she's trying to
Right.
protect this family, this thing that she's been basically sheltering and cultivating. Why would she throw this guy through a wall
Yeah.
and be like, oh, yeah, I'm a superhero too, and whatever? And it's just that whole dumping.
So that was
And then all of a sudden, she's a completely different person.
So that was the same moment for you then.
Oh, it's for all of us.
It's kind of layered. It started at first, but that just solidified it.
Yeah,
you know?
and
that point made the least sense out of any scene either. Like,
Yeah.
as Noah was saying, literally, like it turned into a different movie. The motivations made zero sense.
They're
Also,
like, here, let's shock them.
her-
I bet this'll do it.
her character, and this is alluding, y'all have mentioned this already, she is so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because you get the impression throughout this movie that Hancock did something horrible to her.
Yeah.
But she slowly starts to reveal that, Hancock, you're the most tragic character in history ever.
And
Yeah.
I
Just
left
this-
you.
And I left you, and just her reactions of anger towards him
left you-
doing...
Make no sense.
And then saying like, I left you out of love because I didn't want you to get hurt or whatever.
So, but it's
brought
so
you meatballs.
inconsistent with when you first see her and she's like angry to see him
Yeah.
and just like violently throws him. And like, is that really how you would treat someone who you had this just ancient generations long
3,000
love
And
with?
And that
years.
logic is really, really dumb, by the way. I mean, I know people can be irrational, but like, imagine you're a guy that just, oh, you saved your significant other's life, right? And then now you're deathly injured. Perfect time for wife to skip town, huh? Like, excuse me, do you have any... I know it's supposed to be like, oh, I've got loyalty, but... Really? You're going to do that? And then you're going to go find some guy and settle down?
Yeah, I think there's
Like-
a way to make that story work, but the time it was given to explain it was just kind of like, oh, we're just going to pass over those little details here
Yeah.
and then get to the finale kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Where it needed a little more weight to that story, and it didn't give it that kind of time.
Yep. And this is also where the comedy takes a turn for the worse as well. Like, the funny moments aren't funny anymore because you've been blindsided. Like, the whole scene where he's, like, hitting her with the dough roller.
rolling pin.
Yeah, the rolling pin and the pans. Like, I'm like, this is... Now, what is this that I'm watching
It's
now?
definitely
like,
not comedy.
It's not working anymore. Like, all these scenes that are meant to be funny, like where she's walking out to grab the milk from the refrigerator.
I thought that was a little funny.
Wouldn't that milk have gone bad, by the way, if it's been sitting out there all night?
Depends on how
Not
well insulated that
necessarily
fridge
that
is.
quick.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's just her attitude completely changes, and just,
She
or the
adds
whole
a lot
movie.
more makeup.
Also, it bothered me that Hancock was so willing to turn on his friend and just kiss.
Yeah. just
Go
kiss her.
in for the kiss. Go in for the wife.
With him,
Like-
it makes a little more sense because he seems to be the kind of character that might do that. It's her that's the problem.
No,
No,
my thing is
David, don't say that.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I'm talking about consistency with character.
I'm gonna stop you right
No. He's an asshole in this. He's a terrible person. The fact that he
but
would do that
wasn't
makes
this
sense.
after he stayed in prison?
That doesn't,
Yes.
that doesn't mean you
David,
can't go back.
from a script writing perspective, this was the wrong time to have that happen.
No, I think it was terrible.
He is in a state of being a better man, and he is.
No, I agree. It's the writing, for sure.
Yeah, it shouldn't have happened here. It should have happened. If that were to happen, it should have happened earlier, when he's still in a shades of gray type of place, not when he's a hero and he and Jason Bateman are good. Like, it's not a piece of drama that we needed at
Well,
this
the whole
stage
scene
of the movie.
didn't need to be there. I agree. I was just saying that his character being the kind of person that he slaps girls' butts throughout the movie, like he might turn on a dime.
He did that
She
in
was
the
being
first-
like the most.
He did that in the first 3
I
minutes.
know. I'm just saying
Like,
she's like the virtuous, loving character the whole time. The fact that she did it was way out of character for me. So, and it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just that the whole thing was bad.
ugh. And then their superhero throwdown was so stupid. Like, why are they doing? And it's
Well,
mostly
like,
her.
she-
Just like,
Well, she just came from a conversation where she was talking to him about like, oh, well, we can't let anyone know that I exist, and I've been working on this for years
Yeah.
to make sure that nobody knows who I am. And then they have this knockdown, drag out fight
There's
in the middle
tornadoes,
of
like-
the city,
Still don't-
and it
still don't
just
get
so
that.
happens to be in front of Ray's office. Like, what city is this?
I think they
Los
literally
Angeles.
tear through the windows of his office,
Yeah.
and he looks out, and they're down there. And
Hey,
it's like,
Ray. See
okay,
you for dinner.
this is it's so bad. It's spaghetti madness, I say.
Yeah, the second half is...
I say what you will though. It's got so much random craziness though that you're
talking
a little
about,
invested,
you're talking about
right?
what's her name, right?
Crazy. Cuckoo.
Yeah.
No, it's entertaining in the way that you watch like Green Lantern and you're like, this is a disaster.
Hey, that might. Are you sure that's not a worse villain?
I will take Parallax and Peter Skarsgård in that movie any day over this
Okay.
guy. At least I called out that name. I remember the imagery from that movie of those villains. That guy with the big bulbous head.
Yeah,
like
he's
that is
great.
memorable. This was not. Like I almost forgot to even bring up the villain
I
again.
don't
Yes, he does come
necessarily
back.
think that memorable means better necessarily.
They're okay. Green Lantern is a bad movie, but I still like that weird Peter Skarsgård performance in that movie.
You know what this movie is? It's that game you play with friends where you start a sentence and then you have someone else finish the sentence.
Telephone.
And no, it's not telephone.
Okay.
It's like you go round table and everyone's adding a little bit of the story, but
Yeah.
it's just between two people. And so
No
you're
one's
like,
mapped out the
all
conclusion."
right, this is a story about Hancock and he's a reforming superhero because, alcohol and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, all right, now you take over. Yeah.
Yep.
And then this woman is also a superhero.
It does
and
have
then
that
they
feel.
fight. And then we figure out that, they're like angel gods or whatever.
And they love each
And they
other.
love each other. And she was helping him
This
the
is-
whole time.
Somehow.
Reminds me of that Troy and Abed bit from Community, one of those episodes. And then Troy is just like, and then.
It is
Just
well. It
adds on.
really is an and then movie. Like it constantly keeps adding these other elements that are just like, why do we need this here? But it's just, yeah, it's bad. Let's zip to the finale. This is when we do start to discover that when they're closer to each other, they lose power. As we see that Hancock is he's trying to get something at the gas station, and then there's a mugger, of course, because all muggers are drawn to superheroes, and shoots Hancock, and he's like, I'm fine. But then he looks down, and he's like, actually, I'm not fine. And he realizes that it's because, okay, and this is where the movie gets muddled again, too, because then they try to make the case where it's not just that they're close together, it's that they have feelings and affection now, and that causes the mortality. Like, they have no grasp on how this works, It's
Yeah.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah, but he makes it to the hospital. Then a whole bunch of confusion happens. The bad guy from the bank robbery scene, he's been working with a couple cohorts in the prison because everyone hates Hancock, and they're like, guys, we can do this. Which I didn't.
Specifically, he teams up with the guy and the two guys where one gets his head shoved up the other one's butt.
The one funny moment, and unfortunately it's at the expense of people who have lost limbs, was when he held his hands out to the two people and like one of them grabbed his prosthetic arm. But I mean, it's something you shouldn't laugh at, but I kind of like giggled a little bit.
It was mainly the facial expression of the guys. It was almost more like, why are we even holding hands? And
Yeah.
let alone I have to grab your new
Yeah, it was
claw
a
hand.
funny situation. So I'll give him that little bitty moment there.
There's one other really comical moment at the very end where Ray cuts his other hand off. He goes, "You didn't." I think that was funny.
Okay,
I laughed at that. 12-year-old David laughed at that.
We have our final showdown in the finale where everything is muddled and I barely remember how everything went down, and I just saw this movie. But needless to say, the bad guy is stopped. Hancock realizes he's got to get as far away as possible so that they can both be saved. And in a different movie, this would have been a really cool sequence of him really struggling to get as far away as possible. But in this movie, it doesn't make sense. So that happens, then we cut to later on. It's kind of life as usual, but Hancock is back, I guess. Right? What happens? What happens?
He imprints the All Heart logo on the moon.
Yeah, he did that.
He
but-
comes back and he is now the vigilante in New York.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, you get this. By the way, that was a massive heart logo on the moon.
They branded the moon.
That is so stupid.
Can he do that?
That is so. I cannot believe how dumb that is. By the way,
Yep.
Also, how did he do it?
Is that the? I don't know.
Accurately?
With
I was thinking about that.
the blood of his many bank robber villains.
I mean, even if he had enough paint to cover the entire half of the moon. Like, how did he do it so accurately?
I don't know. Like, is
No,
he
those are spaghetti and meatballs.
Right.
something mom spaghetti.
but
Vomit on his sweater already.
like, why was that in the movie, and how would that help you? Well, okay, maybe. I guess any bad marketing.
That's something
No,
that
don't
belongs
worry
in
about it.
Hitch.
Yeah, it's like the movie is trying to balance between like something to be taken seriously, but also have that charming element that is usually attributed to comedies or you know romantic flicks or the lighthearted side of film.
It's really bad. I was just kind of speechless. I had totally forgotten that scene, but it's maybe the dumbest scene or the dumbest idea in the entire movie.
I feel like
Yeah,
at that
you're
point,
not that wrong.
I feel like
Yeah.
at that point they're
You're
like,
not
you know
wrong.
what? Screw it.
Yeah, I can't explain how much this movie craters, like, as it goes along. Like, it is so, you watch the first 10 minutes of this movie and you watch the last 10 minutes of the movie and you're like, oh, these are definitely different movies. Like, and one of those movies is really good and one of those movies is absolutely terrible.
They had to have their cake and throw it away too.
And throw it away.
too.
Yeah.
That's true. Are there any moments I'm missing that y'all want to talk about before we close this out?
Well, I guess before we close it out, I do want to say that while it does take a downward turn, it never gets into like the absolute most offensive territory. So like as bad as it doesn't get like horrendous ever.
Yes.
Is what I'll say.
Totally agree.
I would
You know.
equate it to like a Transformers movie in the sense where terrible decisions made on all parts, but you know, it's directed all right. It's acted okay at times. So I guess I can give that to you a little bit.
One last
Go
thing.
ahead.
Can we start Spaghetti Madness every time we record now?
I don't want to honor this movie in any way.
I'm going to create spaghetti every single time you guys arrive now.
I bet
It's
you a
spaghetti
whole bunch of money
madness.
that will not happen.
See you next Monday, buddy.
Are you going to bring it in a Ziploc bag?
I bring it to my living room. Yes. Yes, I will carry it.
Oh my gosh!
in a
If we
living
all
room.
have the podcast and are eating out of a Ziploc bag
I'm
of spaghetti,
That's
All right, for the next movie, if check in on us. If we don't have spaghetti, I did something wrong.
And then in December we can do it elf style.
with Pop-Tarts and
maple
syrup.
syrup
Yep,
and some
lots
chocolate.
of maple syrup.
all right, David. $100 bet. Every weekend you have to make Spaghetti Madness.
You bring
If
me
miss-
$100 every week?
No, if at the end of this year you've done Spaghetti Madness for every weekend, I'll give you $100.
What you mean?
No,
every
Reese, you
recording.
cannot put us through this.
There's nothing. Are you going to deny free food?
I'm
If
just kidding.
it's spaghetti every
You don't
time,
have to eat it.
I'm
Okay,
just
fair
kidding.
enough.
I don't actually want spaghetti that
okay, if you wanna do that, then I
I was
accept.
going to say I kind of like the idea of getting $100 at the end of the year.
No, we're doing. I'm gonna put the kibosh on that. I actually thought about. I know you would follow through, and also I don't want.
I would.
I don't want
Yeah.
spaghetti that many times.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
all right. With that said, let's close out the story portion of this podcast. On the other end, we'll get into our brief reviews with numbered scores, talk about what critics thought, get into some box office, and close out with a little bit of franchise talk. We'll see you then. Welcome back. Let's talk Hancock. See, I rhymed there.
Ha! Got him.
David, you got our scores there. You want to pull them at random?
I will. First up is Reese with a right down the middle 5.0.
And I was just like, first half good, second half bad.
That's fair.
So
Pretty easy.
That's and here's the thing. I don't think the first half is perfect, and I don't think the second half is the worst of the worst of the worst. So
it
I think
evens
it
out.
Yeah, so it evens out to that perfect 5 out of 10 for me.
It's like a 7 and a 3,
Or an 8 and a 2.
something like that.
I think it's more like an 8 and a 2. Like
Yeah.
that's probably what it's closer to.
Okay.
I think the first half is really solid. I love the character work on Hancock. I love his dynamic with Jason Bateman. The idea of having a superhero who's not, the public don't like him because he causes so much damage when he's trying to save people. It's almost like they think maybe we'd be better off if he just weren't even here. And Jason Bateman working in PR, they make the perfect combo. Like, hey, I can improve your image and also help you as a person and kind of help find yourself. I really love that idea, and the way they do that with him going into prison, serving some time, working on actually helping people and caring more and getting more of that validation from the crowds. That's a really fun and inspiring, well-written half of a movie. Then it just completely drops the ball. I have to imagine they saw superhero trends and they were like, this needs to be more along those lines instead of what the original idea was. So they gussied it up, had a lot of post-production work, reshoots, all that to make this kind of fit more of a generic superhero mold. Because that's what the second half feels. They do it really feels like a lot of script doctoring to reconfigure things to make them fit into a different thing.
I feel like they
that's-
CGI'd Will Smith's mustache.
They didn't do that. I like your your Justice League joke, but definitely not. This is a homegrown Will Smith mustache, and it's shaved off for the second half of this, which I think he'd look better with the stubble. I'm just going to admit it. But yeah, second half of this movie completely drops the ball. It's really just short of being terrible. There are redeemable moments here and there, but so many of the decisions made are just so ill-advised, especially around just this awkwardly pried-in storyline of having this ancient or legendary romance between these two heroes who they're destined to be together, but they can't be together because powers. That's something you got to set up from the beginning of a movie if that's going to be your main dramatic thing, not halfway through. Like it becomes, this is the best example of a movie that is it's two different movies smashed together, and you can cut it right down the middle, two completely different halves. It just becomes kind of, as Noah said, the delivery of said bad movie isn't the worst. Like, this isn't the worst you could have shot or acted this type of movie, but from a script standpoint and just a lot of the plot mechanics are honestly terrible. Like, I'm not afraid to say it. It's just terrible. And just the heart on the moon is the absolute rotten cherry on top of it all. So yeah, 5 out of 10.
That really bothered you.
Yeah, it really did. It was so.
It is stupid.
It's so dumb. It's like,
why?
What? Honestly, if I had a brand and I was like trying to be popular, and then someone said, "Hey, look at the moon," and I saw my logo like plastered all over the moon, I'd be like, "Oh God, I'm gonna be in so much trouble."
It's like a temporary
I'm gonna be in
tattoo.
so much trouble.
Yeah, you the government would probably think that you had him do that. They'd probably think it was
Think about the
corroborated.
repercussions.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, next up is the highest score out of the bunch, a 6.5 from yours truly, David.
Well, you didn't quite go to Yeti football territory.
No,
there.
That's my basis.
Just a half point away.
Thought about it.
Almost.
So how many times have you seen this, David?
Quite a few.
How
It
many
is
times have you
rewatchable.
seen Tomb of the Dragon Emperor?
Not as many.
Less.
Yes.
Fewer.
A movie you claimed was so rewatchable.
And also half a point better.
I'm a busy guy.
Got time for Hancock.
I did,
He's got all the time in the world for Hancock.
this movie is definitely sort of a soft spot I didn't realize I had.
Yeah, you're right. Hancock, huh?
It's one I grew up with and totally guys, let me say my review.
So you did.
I grew up with this movie and kind of forgot about it once I got busy with life and college and everything, and rewatching it for this series, it's similar to Hook, where I grew up with that as well and kind of stopped watching it for a while. The second I started rewatching it, kind of memories flooded back in. Maybe a little less than Hook, but I still enjoyed this movie growing up. And maybe I just wasn't a very intelligent child, but watching.
Don't say that.
No, I mean, like, when it came to complicated movie beats or.
I liked plenty of complicated movies back then. Like Michael Bay's The Island. I loved that movie.
By complicated, I mean not well written in things that if you thought about long enough, you'd realize didn't make any sense. Back then, as a kid, I was just like, yeah, I don't care. It's a fun movie. And that kind of brings everything together for me with this is it's still a fun movie for me, no matter what. Like, even the dumb stuff, and it's way more evident now that I'm older. I probably would have given this a higher score if I was younger, but that twist, the second that she throws him through that wall, I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
The rest of the movie,
She threw you into a different movie.
she threw us into a different movie, and the plot points didn't bother me as much with like the whole we're both superhero angels things. I like the concept, so I was still on board even through my newest rewatch, but it's not the greatest movie ever.
Oh,
I think the acting is pretty decent. I think the cinematography is better than you would expect based on what we were saying. It's just the writing, really, I think, is the main issue. I mean, you have Charlize Theron, you have Will Smith, Jason Bateman. That's like a recipe for success with a well-written movie, I think.
Yeah.
Peter Berg just decided that he wanted 2 movies in one, and he wanted one of those to not be as good as the other. And that's okay. But in the end, I know I kind of said this before, but even when at the worst moments in the end of this movie, it's still watchable. It's still fun. It's just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So
It's just broken. The thing, it just feels broken.
Yeah.
When you watch it, like this is a toy that someone just stepped on, and it just doesn't function anymore.
There's a snake in my hat.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should move on to the next score.
Yeah.
Next up is Irina. Why'd you got to do this to me?
What she give it?
She gave it a 7. So
Before you freak out, it was a placeholder because I actually wanted to hear a little more about this movie before I really decided what I wanted to.
You better lower that
saddle
score
it with.
below mine.
Before mine?
No,
I will have to
Irina,
go back.
Irina, speak from your heart. What'd you actually think? If you were more positive on this, that's perfectly fine.
No, I actually am going to saddle this with a 6. I do find that these 3 main characters, their acting is good. Like, there isn't really anything wrong about it. In a better movie, I think they could have shined a little brighter. I find Ray's character just very one-dimensional. He's kind of like, he's endearing at first, but then they sort of just kick him to the curb at a point in the movie, and he no longer is a functioning character in it. Instead, it's the Will Smith and Charlize Theron show, or, basically like it feels like a reality TV show where you're watching like 2 dysfunctional people. Like
he could have so much enhanced the second half of this movie.
Yeah,
It's so
and
weird.
I feel like he was supposed to be kind of the heart in it, but he was sidelined.
No, the
Anyway.
heart's on the moon.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All
now.
heart on the moon.
A lot of the problems we've already mentioned. I'm not gonna go back into the obvious change in the movie, but I will say I think I would have enjoyed this more if I were a kid. I think I would have loved this actually. I didn't get to see it through those eyes, and there are definitely elements about it that feel more like a family movie, if anything, where if you're trying to watch something that's a little different from the regular superhero character, maybe something with a little more edge to it. I think it's a fine functioning family movie. You don't really have to think too hard about it because that's just going to frustrate you. So I'm going to leave it with a 6, like slightly positive. There were good deliveries here as far as acting. It's not the worst example of the genre it is. So I'll stick it with that.
Awesome.
All right. Next up, AJ with a 3.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In the gutter.
Well, you guys are softies.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I was kind of
Yeah,
down
I
there
mean-
with a 5.
I don't even know how to begin. Like, I wasn't as positive, I guess, to begin with on the first half of it. I mean, it was okay. I think if they just stuck with like an inverse Hitch movie, I mean, the premise of this down on their luck, misguided superhero or superpowered individual becoming a hero inspired by, this kind of simple, naive guy that's all positive and stuff. That's great. What happened to that story?
Yeah.
I mean, and then even I don't know. You have good talent here in your cast, but they're all different characters and different stories in different movies. And it still like feels like they're writing the story as it's ending. Like, we had the trigger word of a-hole for Hancock that triggered him to, making him snap. And then suddenly Mary has a trigger word of crazy. If you call her crazy, then she snaps. Like, I don't understand. Like, they can't make up their mind what they're doing with this movie whatsoever. And it's not even in the same like realm.
The movie is a chicken with its head cut off.
Yeah, and it's just chicken walking all over the place where go on a tangent. Oh, what if this happened? What if we did this? What if we did this and this and this and that? And then, and it's like, you're so far off from the original premise. It's just a mess. I mean, it's garbage. I mean, I'm not going to mince words. It's just this movie, all the fun was sucked out of it because I don't know why any of this is happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I'll watch a 5-minute version of this in the beginning where Will Smith is being this, rowdy, drunk guy that can, throw cars around and yell at people being curmudgeonly and stuff. And okay, that's enough. I got the premise there. I just, I don't know. This movie does not go any direction towards redeeming itself in the end. I don't know.
I really think it is the reason for some of these higher scores. There's just a general enjoyment watching a Will Smith movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say that.
It is just this Will Smith bump that's just, no matter how crappy your source material is you're drawing from, he just has this aura about him that just he's more entertaining to watch.
And I get it. Like, I mean, I'll watch Hitch, anytime it's on. Like, that movie has that aura for sure. This like takes that aura and then just stomps on it as soon as that kiss happens.
Yeah, that's true.
With Charlize Theron's character.
Yeah.
It's just like, why did you do this?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, it's so bad. It's one of the worst turns.
I don't know. I
think that's what Reese was trying to bait out of all of us earlier.
Yeah.
With, like, what was the turning point?
Yeah. It turned my stomach. That's what it was. I mean, it just, I don't know. I can't find enjoyment. Like, even as, fun as, the movie started, it just, Ray really should have been the ray of sunshine here. And maybe that's what they're going for with the words, and then the whole amnesia and backstory, and then, they're angels or gods or whatever through different cultures, but their powers diminish, and just it's just a mishmash of stuff that does not stick together whatsoever.
Yeah, it just really reeks of like last minute script tinkering and rewrites.
But
and just like,
even then, it's like there should have been some kind of structure beforehand that would have even prevented it from getting this far, even if you're rewriting it that much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like they thought this premise up, and then we're just trying to cash in on name power, star power, and Charlize Theron's wardrobe, and I don't know what else.
Yeah.
Well, we got one more score. Last but not least, we have Noah with a 6.
And you can bring that down a point.
That's fair.
Yeah.
A whole point?
So yeah, down to
No,
5.
You change your scores the most out of any of us.
Well, I mean,
I think I'm probably the culprit there.
Anyways, 5. I think that's fair. It's just kind of disappointing, the ending. They made a lot of decisions well, not just the ending, just the entire second half.
decisions
They
were
made a lot of decisions that were just bad calls, bad takes, bad everything. I think The direction I would have preferred is, as I said before, it would be cool if they did a series. And instead of, establishing other heroes as a reset, just have it be Hancock. Just have it be him being either, just not a good guy or what he is at the beginning. And just navigating through life, finding his moral compass. And then further than that, add some depth to the show by making the city a character of its own. And how, rampant in crime it is, or something. Gothamify it in some way. It doesn't have to be Gotham. There doesn't have to be a lot of crazy stuff. Just, set the tone. Other than that, I don't know. It was second half garbage, first half good. Evens out at 5. That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. AJ, you want to crunch those numbers?
All right, Hancock, we have a group average of 5.2.
Not bad.
I'll take it.
So just edging on the side of positive, or at least over the median.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what company that lands it in. All right, so we have an even 5 for Blade Trinity, and we have 5.3 for Rampage.
Behold, franchise killer. Behold, franchise killer.
Welcome to Franchise Killer, a podcast where we pick movie franchises or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong. Or right.
Oh, you're not going to go for the Will Smith?
No,
Yeah, I feel like it'd be wrong.
No?
I feel like Jason Bateman's more apt for us to attempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey
there. All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll go with it. I'm Reese. Across from me we have
David.
to his left,
Irina.
to my right.
Noah.
It's been a while for you,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Not that long. Just
been
one
a little
week.
bit.
Just 1 week.
No?
Yeah.
All right. It feels like a while.
Just one.
That's how much we missed you.
Yeah.
You didn't even attempt a character. I'm surprised.
I forgot what Jason Bateman's name was.
What a surprise.
Yeah, Reese, tell us, what's his name?
I don't know. I can tell you.
Yeah, see,
there you go.
I got you.
Yeah, you're like, what a surprise.
His name is Ray, guys.
Ray.
I think you misinterpreted what I said. I said, what a surprise sarcastically, because he
okay.
was very generic.
Yeah. He was pretty forgettable.
This isn't one of those movies where they're constantly trying to tell you, or they give characters memorable names.
Except for Hancock. That's a pretty memorable
Yeah,
name.
except that.
Yeah.
And throwing a child 1,000 feet into the air because he called him an asshole, we have...
AJ.
That was a little extreme.
Slightly.
Hey,
Just
if
slightly.
MJ can get away with it, I can.
There you go.
Blanket?
And the movie we're talking about this morning, today, tonight, whenever you may be listening, is Hancock, movie that came out in 2008. It's directed by Peter Berg, who also directed Very Bad Things, The Rundown, Friday Night Lights, The Kingdom, Battleship, Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, Mile 22, and most recently, Spencer Confidential.
You're right. Those are very bad things.
No, actually, I think this guy's track record is all over. Like, I cannot...
Yeah.
Like, one day he may direct a good movie, and the other day it'll be terrible.
And what's
The
this?
only, the only one that screams really, really bad to me is Battleship. Like
Yeah,
the
Battleship-
rest are like acceptable as far as I know.
The thing is, Battleship, and I've seen it, it's exactly on the level of a Transformers movie.
I thought
Like, it's-
Pacific Rim when I saw the trailer.
Yeah, it's just, you watch it and it's like, that's something that shouldn't have been a movie. But what you can say about it is that the action is competently directed. One thing this guy knows how to do is action.
Hey, that's something we're probably going to talk about in this movie.
Cool.
Yeah, but I don't hate Peter Berg, actually. When I'm looking at this, I liked Lone Survivor, I liked Deepwater Horizon, and I kind of liked Patriots Day as well. Some people out there really like Friday Night Lights. I think
Oh, that was a good movie.
Yeah, I think his movie actually inspired, like, that's the reason the TV show exists. It's not the same cast, but I think that's what kind of garnered interest in that subject.
High school football?
Yeah.
I will say also Peter Berg. The last name Berg sounds like somebody just chopped off half of his last name, doesn't
Burger?
it? No, or like Hamburg or Dinkelberg or I don't know, Pittsburgh. You know,
What
it
is
just sounds
this?
like I don't hear Berg on its own. This is a
Berg.
stand-up bit. This is a
Yeah.
Seinfeld bit.
No,
I
you're
don't-
right. You're right.
I'm
What's
fine
the
with it.
deal with Peter Berg?
Just yeah, yeah.
Why
it does
don't you
it
choose
does
a
sound
name?
Like, it does sound like that is his whole last name,
Right?
Peter Berg is his last name.
Sorry, I didn't anticipate my laugh. I didn't back up enough.
And the movie stars Will Smith. Is this our first Will Smith, except barring the Lost episode?
I thought you were hinting at that.
No, I
The
mean
Lost
we had a
episode.
Lost episode where we covered Wild Wild West that sadly is just gone forever. But have we covered any other Will Smith other than that?
We almost covered Independence Day during our disaster series, and we didn't do
Well,
it.
almost don't count,
we
do they?
we also almost did MIB at one point too. I think.
Yeah, we did, and we've been avoiding Will Smith movies, and we thought the best one to do was Wild Wild West, and the next best one to do
Hancock.
So we're picking all of his best movies.
I'm gonna have to check just to make sure. There's almost some part
I'm
of me that
fairly
thinks
confident.
we did talk about a Will Smith, but I'm not sure. Also stars Charlize Theron, Jason Bateman, and Eddie Marsan. For such a big movie, actually not much of a cast to this one. You've only got 3 big names, and then that one guy you recognize in most British movies, specifically the Cornetto trilogy, Eddie Marsan, who's doing a kind of sometimes
I
successful
wanted to talk
accent.
about that accent.
Yeah, it's
I'm
questionable at times.
I'm trying
call
to
it
place it.
questionable.
Yeah, it's one of the few times I normally think British actors do mostly are always able to pull off the American accent, and they do a really good job of it. But his was one where I'm like, oh, not quite there. Because I think he had to first learn the basic American accent and then learn like the, I don't know.
He went for like a
Yeah.
Kentucky-ish accent that kind of swayed into French.
Like I don't know
that's
how
I heard
I
it.
don't know how you learn accents, but do you? I'm wondering if you have to learn like the base. Like here's what a basic American versus or British accent is, and then you have to build off of that, or if you directly go to the here's the Kentucky accent.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I know a lot of productions have accent coaches, but I don't know if they had one for this one or how much time they actually spent on it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. And the movie is written by Vi, Vincent Nigo, and Vince Gilligan. Does that name ring a bell for y'all?
It does.
Vince
I can't
Gilligan?
remember what that is though.
Yeah.
3-hour tour?
No, he did. No, not of Gilligan's Island fame.
Oh,
Vince Gilligan it was the showrunner for shows such as Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul,
gotcha.
Oh, that's where. Yep.
which this was the most surprising credit for me to find in my research for this movie is that it was written by Vince Gilligan. So we have finally finished the Deathloop miniseries. It was a long 8-episode miniseries. We're finally on to the next one. And we're kicking it off with an easy one here with Hancock, but and we've got a few working titles for what we're calling this miniseries.
No,
Could be,
we have the final one. I like the one you called it.
since it's yours, we'll go with that. So this is the superheroes status. It's complicated miniseries where we are talking about superheroes that are, they got some problems. They're kind of, this is real life, right? I think at least most of the ones in our your selections are
This is like before the boys kind of thing.
it's a almost what if superheroes existed in the real world kind of not exactly the real world, but they're more believable in some senses. All right, for those that are new to this show, on this podcast, we first go over our thoughts on the film before revisiting it for the episode. Then we dive into the story, break it down bit by bit, and talk about the more significant moments. Then towards the end of the show, we give our brief reviews and numbered scores, along with an analysis on the health of the franchise and whether or not this film hurt it. So, David, this being your mini-series, had you seen Hancock before this episode?
You bet your Hancock I did. I watched this growing up quite a few times.
Mm-hmm. Is that your only story?
Wait, what-
I
what's
mean,
a-
I saw it in
what's a
theaters.
Hancock?
I mean, it's like hand to your heart, but
Oh.
all right. Anyway, I have seen this. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I have it in my DVD collection from like 2008.
And we've never
I can
watched
see it right here.
Y'all, by the way, y'all's DVD collection makes zero sense to me.
Yeah,
Just
y'all
like,
do have a little
y'all have
little
like
weird
like
assortment.
the Two Towers, but not the other two Lord of the Rings movies.
Wait, no,
So-
we do too.
No, you don't.
Our DVD collection is mostly donations.
And I feel like in your family, y'all have like 3 copies of Dan in Real Life.
I
Like,
don't
y'all-
know why, but
y'all
you're
love
correct.
that movie.
Well, I have a couple copies of Good Will Hunting now because I bought one, and I think your mom bought me the movie twice. I don't know why.
I mean, that makes sense.
So I have like weird random copies of movies in this collection. So
Yeah.
that aside, I grew up with it. I watched it multiple times. I'll let you do the math on what you think I think of this movie.
Noah, how about you?
I know that I saw it. I just can't remember how I saw it.
Same. Me too.
At some point,
So probably not theatrically.
We probably all watched it together, but that's all I can.
That's better than
That's all
not
I got.
remembering if you
Yeah.
had seen it or not, I
Yeah.
guess.
No,
You do
I
remember
know,
seeing it.
I remember seeing it, and I remember the whole story. Or previous to watching it, I remembered the whole story.
Cool. AJ, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw bits and pieces on TV. I don't really remember like it prominently, other than like the prison sequences, which I guess is kind of the main point of it. But I can't, believe we're not doing Sean Connery impersonations right now already. I mean, how many? And Nick Cage, like
What?
He saw The Rock.
Oh, I was like, I don't know. Wait,
Alcatraz.
What?
AJ, I'm so sorry, but the movie we're actually watching this week is Hancock, not The Rock.
Oh,
please tell me you just thought about that last second.
No, I mean it rhymes.
No, I would love to know if he was like, oh yeah, The Rock.
Anyway.
had you seen Hancock?
Hancock. No, I remember it being marketed, but I never saw it until now.
Ooh, so we have a new one. I always love it when good or bad movie or middle of the road movie. I always love it when some of us haven't seen it.
I will say, I think this movie benefits from watching it younger and then growing up with it.
Oh, like most movies that aren't very good.
It's a product of its time, and it doesn't make it bad.
I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm just saying
it's a
For
product
better or
of its
for
time.
worse. For some reason, I conflate Hancock and I Am Legend because like the color of the marketing and posters are the same, and I never
I
saw
see.
either one.
Yeah.
Wait, have you
I think-
still not seen I Am Legend?
I do like
Correct.
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I think this was also during like a Will Smith renaissance of sorts.
Yeah.
Too.
Mini
So-
renaissance. He was
Mi-
still
yeah.
big because
he's always been big, but like
because like a few years ago he still had big hits like
Yeah.
iRobot.
yeah, that's
and,
what
like-
I'm saying. There's
Yeah.
iRobot, there's I Am Legend, there's Hancock.
Well,
there's-
iRobot was 2003. This was like 2010 or what?
I Am Legend was
2008,
07. This is 08, so
Yeah.
I'm not that far off.
Yeah, true. Noah, Arena, how about you?
Yeah, I know I've seen this before. I definitely remember marketing for it and the trailers, and everyone thought it looked like it was going to be good. Didn't end up seeing it in theaters, though. I guess because mostly at that time I was swayed by what the family wanted to go see, and I don't think this movie was really on any of our radars. So I saw it after it was released at some point. I think there's actually, I had a lot of confusion because anytime the name Hancock pops up, I immediately think of Hitch as well.
Yeah.
And so I